Divine revelation, the incredible legacy of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba's hidden son exposed. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, when the sun cast its radiant glory over the land of Israel, the heart of King Solomon was entwined with the weighty responsibilities of his reign. Beneath the magnificent archways of the temple he had built in reverence to Yahweh, the golden rays illuminated the intricate designs that adorned its heights. The beauty of Jerusalem surrounded him, a testament to the united kingdom he cherished, yet within him stirred a longing for divine insight to guide his people. As the day waned into afternoon, a messenger arrived, breathless with tidings that quickened Solomon's pulse. The Queen of Sheba approaches. With her regal bearings and a caravan laden with treasures, gold, spices, and precious stones, she journeyed from the distant realm of Cush. News of her visit sparked awe and excitement among Solomon's subjects, eager to witness the renowned wisdom of their king intertwined with the challenge set forth by this foreign queen. Her arrival, they whispered, would be a spectacle worthy of history. "Your renown has spread far, Solomon," she declared as she entered the temple, her voice rich with authority yet softened by respect. "They said you possess the wisdom of the ancients, and I am here to bear witness." A humble smile graced Solomon's lips as he stepped forward. "Your presence is a blessing, Queen of Sheba. Speak your enigmas, and by the grace of Yahweh, I shall unravel them," he affirmed, recognizing that this meeting was more than a mere contest of intellect, it was a divine appointment. As riddles ensued, the air thickened with anticipation, each question weaving threads of insight that danced around their spirits. Yet, beneath the surface of this intellectual exchange, a profound connection blossomed, a shared yearning that transcended their words. Unbeknownst to them both, the queen felt her heart stir as if awakening something sacred within her. In hushed chambers far from prying eyes, destiny bore fruit, for their union yielded a child. A son, cherished and revered, who would unknowingly carry the weight of ancient promises, a lineage bound to the covenant made with David. This child would one day embody the legacy of faith, hope, and purpose that reverberated through time, yet remained hidden for now. Meanwhile, shadows loomed ominously on the horizon. Famine gripped Cush, and Israel faced imminent threats from neighboring kingdoms. The queen, torn between the needs of her people and the sacred gift of her son, wrestled with the uncertainties that loomed large. In Jerusalem, Solomon sought the wisdom that would steer his nation through mounting tribulations. As the sun dipped below the hills, the transformative power of their encounters began to take root, yet realization dawned upon him: could wisdom alone pave the way through turmoil? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As twilight settled over Jerusalem, a profound silence enveloped both monarchs, broken only by the anguished cries of their people seeking solace amidst the storm. The threads of their destinies, intertwined in ways yet unseen, woven intricately by the hands of the Almighty, lay heavy in the air. Would the hidden child in a distant land unlock the mysteries of God's remarkable plan? Would they find the faith to trust in Him amid trials and uncertainties? In the darkness, the seeds of hope awaited, for time alone would reveal the purpose of their union and the divine legacy that would spring forth from their encounter. As the dawn broke over Jerusalem, painted in hues of gold and amber, King Solomon rose early, his heart burdened with the weight of impending conflict. Rumors of war whispered through the city, stirring fear among the people. They sought assurance from their king, who had once dispelled uncertainties with the wisdom granted to him by Yahweh. He retired to his chamber, seeking divine guidance amidst the turmoil. "O Lord, my God," Solomon implored in quiet desperation, "guide me with your counsel, for my people cry out for peace." He knelt, his forehead pressed against the cool stone of the temple floor, the scent of incense rising like prayers to heaven. In a moment that seemed both eternal and fleeting, the voice of the Lord pierced the heavy silence, "Seek not only wisdom but a heart that knows mercy, my servant. For in times of trial, it is the compassion that binds a nation." Meanwhile, in the land of Cush, turmoil also reigned. The Queen of Sheba found herself torn between loyalty to her homeland and the son she cherished. Her heart ached as she gazed out upon her fields, parched and cracked beneath the relentless sun. "How can I lead my people through this hardship?" she lamented, her spirit heavy with the weight of her crown. Yet, within her, the memory of Solomon's insights fanned a flicker of hope. "He spoke of wisdom, yet he also saw the heart," she murmured. "Could it be that through understanding and compassion, I might find a way?" It was an echo of divine wisdom, a calling from beyond her troubles. Days passed like unending waves crashing upon shore, as the heart of both rulers yearned for direction. And in their thoughts, the hidden son of Sheba remained a child born not only of love but also of destiny. Unbeknownst to them, his name would one day resonate through ages as a linchpin in God's sovereign plan. As the struggles deepened in both kingdoms, a plague of locusts descended upon the crops of Cush. Desperation gripped the queen's heart as she gathered her advisors. "What can we do but act?" she proclaimed. "Let us offer sacrifices and seek the favor of the Lord, for he hears the cries of his people." In Jerusalem, Solomon assembled his nobles, gazing out across the expanse of the city he loved, framing their discourse with earnest resolve. "Our very survival hinges not just on strategy, but on unity," he stated. "For our God delights in a humble heart seeking to serve others." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the curtain of night revealed a shared vision between the lands. The queen sent word to her loyal subjects to gather in prayer, invoking Yahweh with humble cries for deliverance, while Solomon commanded a day of fasting, urging his people to repent and return to the ways of the Lord. In that sacred moment, the heavens opened, and divine revelation flowed down like rain upon parched earth. The Spirit of God stirred in the hearts of both rulers. Could it be the path toward healing lay not in the strength of armies but in acts of mercy and unity? A beacon of hope illuminated the shadows, for the time would come when both kingdoms would witness the power of their shared faith. The hidden son, a child of promise, was destined to rise in an hour known only to the Almighty. What would he accomplish, and how would his name shine across generations? As the night deepened, the atmosphere thickened with divine expectancy. The heart of God beckoned, and a renewed purpose began to take root, for from the merging paths of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, a greater story awaited to unfold. What was the nature of this hidden covenant that would eternally mark their lineage, and how would it resonate through the echoes of history? The pages of the future turned, and the world awaited in bated breath. In the days that followed, the land of Cush continued to endure the ravages of the locusts, and their cries rose like incense to the heavens. The Queen of Sheba, mindful of Solomon's wisdom, called upon the elders of her court. "Let us not only weep for what has been lost," she urged, "but let us come together as a people, seeking the face of the Lord with our hearts united." As the streets filled with the faithful, she called for the sound of trumpets and the lifting of voices in a sacred assembly. The air vibrated with fervent prayers, rising like sweet perfume to the ears of Yahweh. "Forgive us, O Lord, for our transgressions, we return to you with hearts of flesh, yearning for your mercy." In Jerusalem, Solomon, too, felt the weight of his people's suffering. What is a king without a kingdom? He mused, gazing upon the stone walls that had been built through toil and dedication. He summoned his own spiritual leaders, gathering them in the temple courtyard. "We must humble ourselves before our God," he declared with authority. "Let us implore the Lord for wisdom to lead our people through this dark valley." As the cries echoed in both lands, an urgency ignited within the hearts of the rulers, prompting them toward action. With the dawn's light peeking over the hills, Solomon arose and extended his arms towards the heavens, praying loudly for divine intervention. "O Lord, hear the cry of your people. We beseech you for deliverance and restoration." Meanwhile, across the expanse of soil and stone, the queen knelt before her throne. Covered in sackcloth to signify her mourning, she cried out, "Let your grace descend upon us, Yahweh." Bring forth healing, that my people may know your everlasting love. During these fervent supplications, the skies began to shift, as if the heavens sensed the weight of their lament. Clouds thickened, and a mighty wind stirred through the valleys. Both rulers, though worlds apart, sensed the stirring of the Spirit as hope began to rise like the dawn breaking after a long night. And amidst their pleas, the voices of the people reached the throne of the Most High. In response, a profound silence ensued, crashing through their hearts with an astounding clarity. "Fear not," proclaimed the voice of the Lord, resonating through the air like thunder, yet gentle as a whisper. "For I am with you, a refuge in times of trouble. Your prayers have ascended to me, I have heard the cries of the land." In that moment, revelation struck Solomon and Sheba with equal force. A promise entwined with purpose began to unfold, a divine plan that transcended their individual burdens and sorrow. As if ignited by the same divine flame, both rulers received insight into the unfolding future. The promise of a coalescing path for their generations grew clearer. The hidden Son whom they embraced in their thoughts, though yet unknown to them, was destined to lead these lands in a manner they could scarcely envision, a bridge between two kingdoms marked by wisdom and compassion. "Behold, a child shall be born, and he shall possess the heart of both kingdoms," the voice declared with authority. "Through him, the nations shall find solace, and the lost shall know my ways." The weight of this prophetic promise swelled within their souls. Awe filled Solomon as he beheld the glory of the Lord's intent, while the queen trembled at the thought of her son's future, an instrument of God amongst the peoples. And so the destiny of both kingdoms awaited a profound awakening, as Solomon's reign would intertwine with Sheba's lineage through the child of promise. The world, veering toward a fateful encounter, held its breath in divine anticipation. What would be the nature of this bond, and how would the hidden legacy orchestrate the salvation of many? In that sacred season, the seeds of unity were sown, and as the horizon drew closer, the answers began to blossom in the hearts of those who dared to believe. As the dawn light washed over the land, the faith of the people ignited fervor within their spirits. In Cush, the queen continued in humbled prayer, imploring the Lord for mercy and healing. "O Yahweh, we have sought your face, now let your countenance shine upon us." Her voice trembled in the stillness, and across the distance, Solomon knelt in Jerusalem, his heart heavy yet hopeful, echoing her cries. "Great God of Israel, may your wisdom descend upon us. Let your grace restore the land that lies in desolation," he prayed, lifting his eyes toward the temple's magnificent heights, a place where generations had come to find the Lord. As the sun rose higher, the shadows in his heart began to flee, replaced by a vibrant vision of divine promise. The elders of Sheba, listening intently, stood resolute, their eyes wet with tears yet glistening with faith. "Let us send messengers to convey our fervor," one elder proposed, "to seek the counsel of Solomon, a beacon of wisdom." The queen nodded in agreement, sensing a divine thread interwoven with her own aspirations for her people. As the faithful marched forth, word of their determination traveled swiftly, carrying the scent of hope on the winds. Indeed, she was mindful that the fates of their kingdoms hung upon a slender thread woven by their prayers, strengthened by their unity. In Jerusalem, news of the queen's heart stirred within Solomon a yearning for mutual kinship and understanding. "Let us not merely seek knowledge, but the essence of true unity," he confided to his advisers. "A meeting of our spirits must take place." With renewed fervor, he summoned the craftsmen and builders, instructing them to construct a grand pavilion to honor this impending union. Days turned into weeks, and the assembly grew, a reflection of two peoples drawn together in desperate pride and profound reverence. The air buzzed with anticipation as both lands poured their souls into preparation, keenly aware that this gathering was not mere politics, but the unveiling of destiny. And then the day arrived. The Queen of Sheba, adorned in garments of fine linen and gold, approached with her retinue, stepping forward into the light bearing the gifts of her kingdom, spices, precious stones, and the wealth of a land flourishing under her reign. Solomon stood before her, adorned in royal garb, wisdom etched on his brow. Their eyes met, and the weight of divine history lingered in the air, drawing them into a silent acknowledgement of the great undertaking set before them. "Welcome, Queen of Sheba," Solomon greeted, his voice echoing with warmth and sincerity. Together we shall explore the depths of wisdom and unravel the mysteries hidden in our hearts. As they entered the pavilion, the atmosphere crackled with expectation. Among them stood seers and sages, local leaders and distant visitors, all united under the banner of prayer and supplication. Cultures collided and merged, as laughter danced alongside tears, and the sacred was intertwined with the communal. They spoke of the burdens they bore, of the devastating locusts that ravaged their fields, of the trials that shaped their existence. In this exchange, divine insight flowed like living water, uniting them in vulnerability and truth. At the height of their sharing, a cloud descended upon them, heavy with presence. The voices of the gathering hushed, and they felt the breath of the Almighty wrapping around them. From the depths of sorrow shall arise your salvation, thundered a voice uncreated, reverberating like the echo of ancient stones. Your prayers have drawn together the heart of both kingdoms. Solomon and the queen exchanged glances. What did this mean? What salvation was their hidden child destined to bring, and how would their union fulfill the promise of the one who orchestrated their fates? Great is your faithfulness, O Lord, they proclaimed simultaneously, a chorus of awakening that illuminated their understanding. The pillars of unity were laid with the promise of divine favor, yet within them stirred a longing for that which remained unseen. For as the gathering dispersed into the hushed twilight, a question lingered in the air, unsettling and profound: what further wonders lay ahead in the tapestry of his sovereign plan? As the twilight deepened, casting shadows over the land, the Queen of Sheba remained in close communion with her heart's desires. With each moment, her thoughts swirled, reflecting on the divine utterance they had just experienced. The heaviness of her prophetic encounter wrapped around her like a mantle, a sweet yet weighty assurance that something momentous was afoot. In the stillness, she took stock of the assembly, a gathered collection of souls fervent in their hope, each bearing the burdens of their people. Let the hearts of our kingdoms find solace in God, she spoke, her voice imbued with resolve. For in unity, we seek the very essence of His grace. Perhaps, through our commitment to His ways, we will encounter His salvation. Across the great hall, Solomon observed her, sensing the depth of her convictions. Though they spoke with serenity, beneath lay a tempest of unfulfilled dreams. O Lord, he whispered in prayer, let this union bloom forth to clarity, for my thoughts are entwined with the mystery of our destinies. As the dusk settled, the elders of both lands conferred in hushed tones, their faces lit by flickering oil lamps. They spoke in awe of the prophetic voice that had shaken the air, whispers of a child that would emerge from their union and fulfill great wonders. The sound of anticipation hung heavy, pregnant with expectation. Could it be? An elder from Sheba posited, his fingers brushing his beard thoughtfully. What if our next ruler brings forth the understanding of the Almighty, uniting hearts and nations in a new covenant? The elders nodded, passions igniting within their hearts as they shared visions of unity, a reign marked not by dominion, but by righteousness. Solomon felt the weight of those hopes settle upon him as a mantle, leading him to his holy chamber. During the night, in fervent prayer, Solomon sought the Lord with urgency. O God, reveal the nature of this child. What role shall he play in your divine orchestration? As sleep overtook him, a dream enveloped him in divine light. In the dream, a radiant figure appeared, arms open wide. Solomon, it called, and his heart quickened with fear. Speak, O Spirit of the Lord, and I shall listen. He answered reverently. From your union shall arise a son, he will be known for wisdom deeper than the oceans and peace greater than the dawn. A covenant unbreakable shall flow from his life, causing many to turn their hearts toward me, the voice declared, pulsating with transcendental authority. Awakening, Solomon's heart leapt within him as he pondered the implications of this revelation. He understood that his governance was but a shadow of what was to come. A legacy etched in time, a divine promise unfurling before his eyes. Meanwhile, in Cush, the Queen of Sheba sensed the fervor of her decision resonate within her. She gazed out from her balcony, the stars twinkling like myriad promises. God of Israel, she prayed, let our destinies entwine. For in the union of our hearts and lands, might we witness the dawn of your grace. The following morning, as light broke forth anew, Philadelphia's heralds spread word of the new covenant, reverberating through the valleys and echoes of prayer resounding across nations. The longing for restoration nestled deep into their spirits, igniting fierce hope. Yet, as they sang of joy and gathered strength, the question loomed: what sacrifices would be demanded of them to manifest this divine plan? What trials must they endure before the child of promise would reveal himself? Thus, in the hearts of the faithful and the weary, anticipation thrummed like a heartbeat, a divine melody strummed by the hands of eternity. For even now, from the hidden depths of history, the choreography of God's sovereign will was unfolding, revealing that every step taken would lead not merely to unity, but to the holiness of unimagined significance. As dawn's light pierced through the veils of night, a palpable anticipation hung in the air like the promise of rain upon parched land. In Jerusalem, Solomon arose, his heart still resonating with the divine message he had received. He summoned his advisers and the elders of Israel, for the weight of prophecy required the wisdom of a collective heart. "Gather, O men of Israel," he called, his commanding voice steady yet tender, "for the Lord has spoken to me in the stillness of the night. A child of great promise is to be born from the union between myself and the Queen of Sheba. This child will embody wisdom and peace, and though we cannot fathom the full measure of this gift, we must prepare ourselves and our people for what is to come." The gathered men listened intently, wide-eyed with reverence, for the echoes of Solomon's words swept through them like fire through stubble. An elder stepped forth, asking, "What do you require of us, O king? How shall we fulfill this sacred duty?" Solomon replied, "Pray without ceasing, that our hearts may be aligned with the will of the Most High. And let there be gathered resources sufficient for a future that we cannot yet see. For the path forward may yet require sacrifices, and we must be ready to endure." Meanwhile, across the land, the Queen of Sheba, in the splendor of her palace, felt the stirring of the Almighty within her. The air was thick with promise and reverberated with the truths her intuition whispered. "Surely, I am part of a greater narrative," she pondered, pacing her chambers as sunlight streamed through the windows, casting divine patterns upon the stone floor. "But it is not mere fortune, it is purpose that draws us together." Her heart burned with determination. "Israel's God shall be my God," she declared, her voice unyielding with resolve. She gathered her finest offerings, gold, spices, and precious stones, that they might honor the union and the covenant the Lord had begun. Days turned into weeks, and the news of their covenant and the anticipated child spread like wildfire through the lands. As the people buzzed with hope and fervor, a curiosity loomed: what trials must they face to witness this son of destiny? Each community began to offer their prayers with greater fervor, seeking answers from the one true God. Within the heart of the covenant kings, the adversary stirred, seeking to sow discord and fear. "What if this child brings forth a greater kingdom that diminishes your own?" A shadowy figure whispered to a council member hesitant about Solomon's union. "Might you not fight against this destiny?" But the lonely labor of prayer and faith fortified their hearts. Solomon, troubled by the threat of division, fell to his knees time and again, imploring Yahweh for unity amidst uncertainty. "O God, preserve this bond," he prayed, "for the future is as a treacherous sea, and I seek to navigate it in your hands." In the Queen's land, rumors flowed of a looming hardship, but she rallied her people with words of strength: "Let us not only await the gift, but may our spirits be unyielding through trials. For the God of Israel has promised, and in his promise is our hope." The sovereignty of God was unfolding like a tapestry before their eyes, the threads of destiny weaving through prayers, offerings, and unwavering faith. Yet, amidst this burgeoning alliance, the question remained: what cost must they pay for this covenant of grace? As the sun set on the horizon, casting an orange glow over both kingdoms, a silent breath was released. The whispers of heaven continued their symphony, beckoning those with ears to hear. Little did they know that from the shadows, a far greater plan was stirring beneath the surface, soon to reveal the true implications of this divine union. For the day was approaching when the heart of the world would tremble with a promise unfurling like the wings of a newly hatched bird, setting into motion the divine story that would unfold across the ages. The days drifted into weeks, a waiting game of breath held fierce in the hearts of many. The whispers of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba echoed, intertwining like two rivers flowing towards an uncharted sea. In Jerusalem, the king devoted himself to prayer, his voice rising like incense before the throne. "O Lord," he lamented, "the journey ahead is laden with burdens we cannot see. Grant us wisdom to traverse the paths of our destiny." Meanwhile, in the land of Sheba, the queen prepared for her journey to her beloved Solomon. With each carefully crafted offering, she sought to honor not only the bond they shared but to invoke the favor of the Almighty upon her venture. "Let us gather our spices and gold," she commanded, her heart aflame with hope, for we must present our offerings worthy of the God who unites nations. As the many carts trundled beneath the weight of gifts, her thoughts lingered on the union that was to come. She sought the counsel of her trusted advisers, wise men of the East. "What does our future hold?" she asked, their gazes steady, yet laced with uncertainty. One elder, his voice carrying the weight of experience, spoke, "O Queen, history is a mirror, the past often reveals the shadows of our future. Seek wisdom in the scriptures, for therein lies the path to understanding the Lord's will." Encouraged yet anxious, she immersed herself in the Word, her spirit seeking the heart of God. In that quiet moment of reflection, a revelation dawned upon her. "Is it possible," she mused, "that this union carries more than I can fathom? That in our child lies the promise of a lasting peace for both our nations?" As the final preparations crystallized, her people stood upon the cusp of change. They gathered, united in prayer, surrendering their fears and hopes to the Almighty. "Let us be steadfast," she urged, her voice rising like a beacon, "for we embark not merely upon a journey, but an unfolding of divine destiny." And thus, as her caravan commenced toward Jerusalem, the atmosphere crackled with spiritual intensity, like heat before a storm. Unbeknownst to them, the winds of change stirred more than anticipated. In the halls of Jerusalem, Solomon conferred with his advisers who were weary with watchfulness. "We must not let fear take root among us," he counseled, yet a sliver of doubt crept through as a messenger approached, breathless and filled with urgency. "O King! A great trepidation descends upon the land. Tidings bear that your union shall invoke the ire of surrounding nations who desire to see it undone." Solomon's heart clenched in anguish. He rose from his throne, his eyes piercing the waiting assembly. "Men of Israel, though the adversary roams, we shall walk in faith. We are not mere pawns in a game of man, by the grace of God, we will rise above the storms." They joined hands, their hearts ignited in prayer, each voice melding into a powerful crescendo calling upon the name of the Lord. "You alone, Almighty God, hold the keys to our fate." As the sun dipped low, casting a golden hue upon the Jerusalem plains, a stillness enveloped them, a holy hush that heralded impending revelation. In the deep of night, the cries of the people echoed through the cities, coupled with the unseen forces that loomed in secrecy, plotting against the divine union. Yet, from the shadows, a flicker of hope danced above the clamor. The heavens had ordained this moment. The unearthly melody of God's purpose resonated within creation, marshalling forces unseen. Little did they know, the true significance of this union was about to be unveiled in a manner that would shake the foundations of their worlds. What greater legacy awaited them in the shadows of this covenant? For the dawn upon which they stood would bring forth a child whose impact would ripple through generations, a testimony of God's unwavering sovereignty, one that would soon bring the eternal narrative of redemption into the light. And it came to pass, as the caravan of the Queen of Sheba approached the gates of Jerusalem, a palpable anticipation filled the air. The sun rose, illuminating the city, and the sound of trumpets heralded the arrival of the Queen's procession. The people gathered in throngs, their eyes wide and hearts hopeful, as they beheld the sight of riches unmatched. The air carried the scent of spices and sweet fragrances, an offering unto the Lord. Solomon, clad in royal garments that shimmered like gold in the morning light, stood at the threshold of his palace. The glimmer in his eyes betrayed both excitement and apprehension. He had prepared his heart through prayer, yet the weight of expectation bore down upon him. Once again, Lord, grant me discernment, he whispered, for wisdom is more precious than gold. When the queen dismounted, her beauty reflected the grace of the heavens, and the crowd gasped in awe at her presence. Is this the wisdom of which we have heard? They murmured, for it was well known that she was both majestic and insightful. Yet, within her, the fire of loyalty sparked a dedication to fulfill a promise made not only to her people but to the God she served. Welcome, Queen of Sheba, Solomon greeted, his voice carrying the strength of authority and kindness. Today, we stand not as distant rulers, but as allies whose destinies are intertwined. The queen bowed, her heart full of reverence. Your Majesty, I have ventured far, compelled by the wisdom and glory the Lord has bestowed upon you. I come bearing gifts, but more importantly, I come to seek knowledge from the depths of your famed understanding. Their dialogue flowed like a river, rich with depth, weaving through questions of the universe, the nature of life, and the divine mysteries hidden in creation. As they spoke, their spirits harmonized, bridging gaps between two nations. Each word uttered was saturated with a hunger for truth and understanding, resonating in accordance with Proverbs 18 verse 15, the heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out. Days turned into evenings, and the walls of the palace echoed with their shared laughter, the common ground of wisdom uniting them in a fellowship that surpassed friendship. Yet, as the days blossomed, an unspoken tension lingered in the shadows. The hearts of the people were torn, vulnerable to fear and whispers of discontent. On the seventh evening, Solomon convened a gathering of the wise men, old and young alike. I sense a growing unease among our people, he declared. We must speak boldly, for the union of our nations is more than mere alliances, it is a divine orchestration. The wise men nodded in agreement, their brows furrowed with concern. Meanwhile, in a secret place hidden from sight, a scribe's scroll unrolled, revealing ancient prophecies inscribed through the generations, resonating with the echoes of what was to manifest. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet until Shiloh comes, the words echoed from Numbers 2400 hours 17. In this revelation, the weight of their union became abundantly clear, a convergence divinely foreordained. And as the night deepened, a dream fell upon Solomon, cloaked in celestial light. The Lord spoke, remember, O Solomon, as you join with the Queen of Sheba, discern that in your unity, the child born of this covenant shall carry a seed of hope that will one day impact nations. The world shall look upon this union and see the unfolding of my glorious plan. With morning dawning anew, Solomon awoke with renewed conviction. The prophecy whispered in his heart was not simply a matter of legacy, but a reminder of the greater divine wisdom to be unlocked through obedience. So it was that as the sunlight streamed into the palace, illuminating the sacred bond forged, they stood on the precipice of history together. The destiny of two nations intertwined, unfurling before them like a rich tapestry waiting to be woven. Little did they know, the most remarkable aspect of their coming together was not merely their own legacy, but that in God's sovereign design, it would herald the arrival of one who would bridge the gap between humanity and the divine. What awaited in the unseen was bound to shake the very foundations of the earth and reveal a grace that transcended time itself. And it came to pass, that as the bonds of friendship deepened between Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, a shadow of foreboding swept through the lands, like the gust of a coming storm. The unity that blossomed in the brightness of wisdom was met with murmurs that echoed in the hearts of those who dwelt within Jerusalem and Sheba alike. Solomon, keen of perception, observed the faces of his people, and their unease began to dwell heavily upon him. He convened yet another assembly in the great hall, where marble pillars soared towards the heavens, echoing his resolve. Hear me, people of Israel. Solomon proclaimed, his voice steady yet resonating with deep concern. Let us not be swayed by fear, for the Lord abides with us. This union is birthed from above, a divine blending of our fates and peoples. Your Majesty, what if this alliance turns against us? Called one anxious elder from the throng. What if her worship of false gods leads our hearts astray? Fear spread through the assembly, yet the heart of the king was undeterred. "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom," he replied, drawing upon the very word they cherished. "And it is with faith rooted in this knowledge that we shall address these uncertainties. Let us seek the Lord's guidance through prayer and sacrifice." In that moment, the assembly of wise men and leaders united in fervent prayer, lifting their voices toward the heavens, imploring the God of Israel for clarity and confirmation. As they prayed, the skies darkened briefly, and a hush fell over the crowd, as if the heavens themselves paused to listen. That night, Solomon lay upon his bed, troubled yet hopeful, and once more the Lord spoke unto him in a dream, saying, "Fear not, Solomon, for I am faithful to fulfill my promises. Through this union will I weave a lineage that shall not only endure but shall reflect my glory to all. Yet take heed, your hearts must remain true to me, for therein lies the strength of this covenant." When morning broke, Solomon rose with renewed fervor. He summoned his faithful servant, Benaiah, and commanded him to prepare a great feast in honor of the queen, with every delicacy from the bounty of Judea. "We shall show the depths of our hospitality," he stated, "and in doing so, strengthen the bonds between our nations." On the day of the feast, the palace was adorned with rich tapestries and the tables overflowed with provisions that delighted the senses. The queen entered, her eyes reflecting the vibrant atmosphere, the air thick with joy and anticipation. As they partook of the feast, their laughter echoed with delight, yet amid the festivities, a sacred heaviness descended upon Solomon's heart. In the midst of their gathering, the queen leaned closer, a glimmer of curiosity in her gaze. "Tell me, my friend," she asked with a gentle resolve, "what shall be the legacy of this bond, should it endure beyond our time?" Solomon's heart stirred as his thoughts flashed to the prophetic whispers he had received. "If we heed the Lord's counsel, our legacy shall not be one of material wealth alone, but shall encompass generations that harbor his light. What remains unseen now shall one day be revealed, a lineage destined to alter the course of history." The queen's eyes widened, and her spirit resonated with the unarticulated truth that hung in the air between them, a deeper divine purpose entwined with their destinies. But as the feasting progressed, the shadows of doubt and treachery encroached from darkened corners. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to them, the wicked hearts of certain men plotted a plan to unravel the fabric of the promises made. And calamity loomed ahead, threatening the unified joys of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. As the day came to an end, Solomon stood upon the balcony of his palace, contemplating the horizon, the wind whispering secrets of what was to come. His soul surged with a weighty revelation, "Blessed are those who endure, for they shall see the unfolding of the Lord's plan." Yet, beneath the beauty of their alliance, a profound mystery lay veiled, waiting to be unearthed. Little did they know, the true legacy of their covenant would not be fulfilled through wealth or wisdom, but through a hidden child destined to rise, who would one day usher in a new covenant for all humanity. Such was the unfolding of God's sovereign will, a divine thread woven through time that would lead to unparalleled grace and redemption. And it came to pass that the winds of change swept over the land, shifting destinies, revealing truths, and orchestrating a divine resolution for King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. Their hearts, once full of uncertainty, now pulsed with the echoes of promises fulfilled and a legacy that awaited to be unveiled. In those sacred moments of prayer, as Solomon sought clarity, divine revelation poured forth. The Lord spoke directly to his heart, affirming, "Fear not the shadows that encroach upon your union. For through the child of promise, whom I have known since the foundation of the world, a new dawn shall break forth and illuminate the path of righteousness." Solomon bowed low, humbled by the weight and grace of his commission, knowing full well that in this sacred alliance lay the future that would bind Israel and Cush, grounding their faith in the God of glory. Meanwhile, the Queen of Sheba, in reflective solitude, found herself overwhelmed with anticipation. The voice of the Lord had whispered a radiant truth, swirling like incense in the chambers of her spirit. "Your son shall be a beacon," he reminded her, "a light to the nations. Teach your people to walk in understanding and compassion, for through his life shall rivers of living water pour forth, quenching the thirst of many." Her resolve deepened, rooted more profoundly in the belief that her child's destiny was intricately tied to the history of God's people, binding hearts beyond borders. Yet, as shadows loomed, an urgent call to action arose. Solomon summoned his army, his nobles, and the wise men of Israel, proclaiming, "Together we shall stand firm against the tides of enemies that seek to undermine what the Lord has forged." And as he spoke, his voice rang with divine authority, each syllable sealing the covenant they had forged with an unwavering commitment to God's will. In Cush, the queen rallied her people. "United, we will stand against the tempest," she declared with a fierce conviction that stirred the spirit of her land. "For our God is a God of mercy, where compassion shall prevail over conflict." The faithful gathered in fervent prayer, believing that through their cries, heaven would respond once again, intertwining their destinies in a tapestry rich with divine favor. Days turned into weeks, and as the spring sun smiled upon the lands, the time drew near for the anticipated birth of the child, the hidden heir who would fulfill the prophecies and dispel the darkness. Solomon and the queen met frequently, their counsel deepening, their trust in the Lord flourishing. Together they prayed, their hearts aligned in expectation, their souls entwined in the mission that lay ahead. And it was on a morning bathed in golden light that the moment arrived. In the royal chambers of Sheba, cries of joy pierced the quiet as the child emerged, a boy born of promise, wrapped in wonder. The news spread like wildfire, igniting hope in the hearts of those who had long awaited a savior. Simultaneously, in Jerusalem, Solomon received the news with gratitude and reverence. "This child shall be our legacy, he shall be the bridge between our peoples, an embodiment of our union," he proclaimed, his heart swelling with love as he envisioned the great calling that awaited. In the months that followed, the child grew in wisdom and stature, capturing the hearts of his people. He was named Jedediah, beloved of the Lord, and as he flourished, so too did the relationship between Israel and Cush deepen, blossoming into an alliance built on trust, reverence, and a shared mission to honor the God who united them. By the hand of God, the shadows of discord dissipated, and the promise spoken long ago became their reality, woven through their history like the threads of a glorious tapestry. Jedediah inspired faith in those near and far, as kings and nations turned their gaze toward the union birthed from the holy covenant of Solomon and Sheba. His wisdom transcended generations, drawing all men unto the light of the one true God. As the kingdoms flourished, the hearts of the people rejoiced in the fulfillment of the divine promise. United, they sang praises, sisterly in spirit, acknowledging that through trials and victories alike, God had remained faithful. In this divine orchestration, the union of two kingdoms, the birth of the beloved child, and the transformative power of faith, God's sovereign plan stood fulfilled, shedding light upon the ways that love and obedience can transcend borders and unite broken hearts. This legacy bore witness to all that true faith can achieve. As the chronicles of history unfolded, let it be known among all generations, the hearts of King Solomon, the Queen of Sheba, and their son, Jedediah, were resplendent with the grace and love of the Almighty, a testimony of God's unyielding faithfulness to his people. And now, dear friends, as we have walked this profound journey together, I urge you, you need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word and not miss these powerful biblical stories. Like this video now to help spread God's truth through the algorithm so more can find hope in His love. I invite you to comment your reflections and how this incredible story has impacted your faith walk, for your voice matters in this community. Share this message instantly with at least 5 friends who need to hear about God's redemptive heart, for this is the moment to aid in spreading biblical truth. Don't wait even one more second, be a beacon for His glory.